Good evening, I'm Michelle Arthur with the Monday, June 2nd edition of the CBC Evening News. Budget cuts at the Department of Emergency Management are making it very difficult for disaster officials to meet the demands of the National Emergency Management Program. This was one of the main points coming out of the official press conference held by the Department of Emergency Management this morning at the start of the 2014 hurricane season. Shane Seeley reports.
The good news coming out of today's press conference at the Department of Emergency Management is that this year's hurricane season is expected to be a lot less active than the average. Only 9 systems expected, 3 of them to become hurricanes with 1 major cyclone predicted. Now, the not so good news is that severe budget cuts at the DEM is affecting the way they do business. And according to Director Judy Thomas, they are struggling to get the program rolled out.
The setup program has extended, has been expanded considerably since 2003 when we were given an expanded mandate. And we really are struggling at the moment with maintaining the kinds of demands that are being made on us to service the National Emergency Management Program. And the question of seriously prioritizing what needs to be done and dropping those things that we can postpone for a bit. It is a juggling act. We are pretty well good at doing that, but there comes a time when you really can't juggle anymore.
Despite this, there's been some major achievements to date. One of them is Cabinet's approval of a revised national shutdown procedure. This allows for the systematic shutdown of the country in the event of a severe weather system. The DEM director says the plan should help to eliminate any confusion, especially in the aftermath of a hurricane or storm when the all clear is given.
What was important enough was the DEM taking cognizance of the fact that people were concerned about the all clear and when you should go back to work and reactivate it. We have ensured in the new policy, which will be widely circulated, that aspect has been laid to rest.
The DEM director is also calling for a national cleanup campaign for Barbados.
Barbados at the moment is running on a dirty environmental landscape. The fires and all of that have their toll on the environment. And this is the time to start cleaning up the community and ensuring that when the rains come, as we are hoping that they will, we don't have aggravation in terms of flooding and blocked drains, etc.
Now, the Department of Emergency Management has also relaunched its website. That's www.dem.gov.bb. And there you can find all the information you may need about disaster management preparedness and shelters here in Barbados. I'm Shane Seeley for CBC News.
Barbadians must start looking for ways to conserve and recycle water, as this will be a significantly dry season. This from Ronald Jackson, Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. He was speaking at a press conference this afternoon at the Manor Lodge complex.
Water rationing has to be treated as part of a much bigger water management strategy, especially for the Caribbean territories. The outlook under the current climate regime suggests that there is going to be a reduction in overall rainfall for the region. So water is going to become even more important.
4 other Caribbean countries, Jamaica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia and Trinidad and Tobago, have started water rationing. Mr. Jackson has suggested some methods for the island to combat the expected dry conditions.
It will impact on how homes are constructed going forward in the future in terms of double piping, perhaps, where you look at what wastewater you reuse and what you reuse it for. Perhaps for flushing, perhaps for gardening, depending on the quality of the water. But that's something we have to look into. And certainly in the context of Barbados, where we've seen a significant dry season, and there's every possibility that we will see more of these kinds of seasons, that we look at strategies for rationing and managing water in a comprehensive way.
As the country prepares for the 2014 Atlantic hurricane season, a local cleric is imploring members of the Department of Emergency Management to exercise more compassion and tolerance when dealing with the public. Pastor of the Church of God, Chapman Street, Jacqueline Mears, says there are many instances, especially during this season, when member agencies are swift to criticize people for their slow response to hurricane preparedness advisories. She says this almost always has an adverse impact on the way the agency is viewed by members of the public. She made the remarks during an official service for the DEM, marking the start of the hurricane season.
God would also expect you to assess your own internal systems, lest at any time when you are called to respond under God, we find ourselves getting angry, we find ourselves getting blue vexed, that this community has not prepared, that Bajans wait until the very last minute and go in the supermarket, that we wait until the very last minute and are caught up in the lines and then can't get home. And then you know what happened? The emotions come from you, who are the ones that should be setting the tone for us as Barbadians.
Pastor Mary says officials need to empathize more with people and their plight.
You must touch our communities with a spirit of loving kindness and tender mercies. That is what is called empathy. God expects that you empathize with those whom you come into contact with. Those mothers, those single parents that have lost all, that the roof is blown from over their heads, those ones that have nowhere else to turn. God expects, God requires of you that you demonstrate a spirit of loving kindness and tender mercies.
The top official at the Met Office has expressed concern about the current drought condition affecting the island. Acting Director of Met Services, Hampton Lovell, gave his take on the situation in light of the 2014 hurricane season.
The expectation is for lower than normal rainfall throughout the year, and with the onset of the El Nino, that too will compound reduced rainfall figures for us. In the wet season, reduced rainfall is not as much of a tearjerker as if you are into a dry season. So what we'll have to look at is what happens at the end of the year as the El Nino comes in, and that goes into early next year, which is the dry season. So then if we have very, very dry conditions starting from late in the year and going into next year, then we would have to start worrying about that.
Barbados' environment will suffer if the spate of grass fires continues across the island. This is the view of Minister of the Environment and Drainage, Dr. Dennis Lowe, who says the more fires we have, the more detrimental it will be. His comments came following a service at the St. Michael's Cathedral in observance of World Environment Day and in recognition of the 20th anniversary of the first Conference of Small Island Developing States in 1994. Dr. Lowe then commended the Barbados Fire Service for what he says is its excellent work in keeping the blazes under control. He's calling on homeowners to scale back on the practice of burning rubbish. With respect to the Environmental Protection Act, he provided an update on the proposed legislation.
The Chief Parliamentary Council has drafted the first draft. We submitted it for our purview. We've looked it over. We're satisfied that it is in good shape to go forward, and it should be going forward to Cabinet within the next few weeks.
Dr. Lowe says illegal dumping is also a major concern for government.
We're working very hard to make sure that we get the legislative framework in place that will beef up the penalties on illegal dumping, and that would also place a greater level of watchfulness from the government side around the country relative to illegal dumping.
Another renewable energy initiative, that story and more ahead on the Evening News.
Right from its start over 80 years ago, Goddard Enterprises made innovation and diversification its own proud tradition. Today's Goddard Enterprises Limited is one of the Caribbean's foremost and diversified multinational corporations, comprising more than 50 companies in over 20 countries. Goddard Enterprises Limited is catering, manufacturing, hospitality and service business, financial, and marketing and distribution of world-famous brands. Goddard Enterprises, the tradition of innovation and service since 1921.
I sent a text to the economic program, and then I got a call saying that I was a winner. This system is beautiful. For baths, it is excellent. I want to thank SunPower for this wonderful gift and giving back to the community. And I want to say again, thanks very much to Economics and SunPower, and I encourage everyone to watch the show. You too can be a winner.
Here's your SunPower.
50% of people with sensitivity do nothing about it. What they tend to seek is immediate treatment. I recommend Sensodyne Rapid Relief. There's a very simple test you can carry out at home. Grab a little bit, rub it on the area that's causing the sensitivity, and in 60 seconds you can see that the sensitivity that you previously experienced is now gone. Using Sensodyne Rapid Relief on a continuous basis helps prevent sensitivity in long term. It's an everyday toothpaste with a bit of an oomph.
Community Files.
Why not taking a tour of the Bel Air's Research Institute of McGill University, Holetown, St. James, in celebration of World Environment Day? Starting Tuesday, June 3rd, and continuing on Wednesday, June 4th, and Friday, June 6th, the public is invited to tour the Institute from 10 a.m. daily. On Thursday, June 5th, World Environment Day, there will also be a lecture entitled Feeding Ourselves Now and in the Future, Reality or Not, in the Grand Salle, Central Bank of Barbados at 4 p.m. Please make a special effort to attend.
Leader of the opposition, Mia Mottley, says that there are two ways to settle the impasse over retrenchments at the National Conservation Commission, legally or the industrial political route. However, she told a BLP branch meeting at the St. Christopher Primary School that the unions did not offer workers the legal option. She also raised questions about the Employment Rights Tribunal. Ms. Mottley says that there appears to be a climate of fear in Barbados, and she says while it's expected that the opposition will speak out on the issues, it's rare for other people not to let their voices be heard. She also wants the Minister of Education, Ronald Jones, to help students signed up for the next semester at the UWI Kefil campus.
You cannot now, with less than 3 months to go, continue with the charade of confusion where people do not know if they are going to be able to resume school and, sorry for those who have not started, be able to get in for the first time. A mother or father that has 3 or 4 children must revert to the dark old days of eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Which one will I choose?
More than 123,000 people are covered by the National Insurance Scheme in Barbados, and the state entity paid out over $500 million last year. The figure was provided by Minister of Labour and Social Security, Senator Dr. Esther Barsuku, at a service of thanksgiving for the NIS at the People's Cathedral. While noting it was not an easy 47 years, she paid tribute to visionaries like the late Right Excellent Sir Frank Walcott. Overall, she says the NIS has had a tremendous impact on Barbados.
It has helped to maintain families and households even when the income has been affected because of sickness and so on. Indeed, we say, and we know it's true now, that the National Insurance Scheme has been more than a contribution. It certainly has been a lifeline for many people, with the sickness benefits I mentioned, maternity benefits, invalidity benefits, death, survivors. Of course, we do the severance, unemployment, old age pensions, even non-contributory pensions.
Despite some concerns, Senator Barry Suku says the NAS is prepared to meet the country's demands in the coming years.
Since we do anticipate economic growth in a couple of years, we are not about to panic, and I would not encourage you to panic either. We are still looking good. National Insurance has indeed made some changes over the years with respect to pensions, increasing the benefits, adjusting the pensionable age. I know some of you would be aware that we've adjusted the pensionable age, allowing for lodgement of your pensions as well, and improving electronic services.
A $2 million pilot project in renewable energy and energy efficiency will soon be launched in Barbados. Financed by the Global Environmental Facility, the monies will be used for erecting photovoltaic systems on polyclinics and community centers across the island. The project will be administered by the United Nations Development Programme, or UNDP. This was revealed today by Senator Darcy Boyce, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, as he addressed the launch of the government, GEF, and the UNDP's solar voltaic project at the Hilton Hotel.
Our national policy calls for at least 30% of all electricity produced in the island to be generated from renewable energy sources by 2029, at least 30%, and a decrease in electricity consumption by 22%. We now believe that we will reach those targets much earlier because of the several projects currently in the pipeline. The projects to be executed in our roadmap include the waste-to-energy plant, the conversion of biomass at Andrews Factory to electricity, and they together will generate about 50 megawatts of electricity.
Senator Boyce said it's part of government's plan to create a sustainable green economy. This economy also includes the procurement of electric vehicles for the public sector and the retrofitting of all government buildings with solar roofs. Mr. Boyce said 19 contracts have been awarded for this project, which includes the outfitting of 10 schools. Government's solar roofs electricity program was later launched with a flick of a switch at the Pebbles Beach. Self-employment is becoming a more viable career option. This suggestion from Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth, Ruth Blackman. She says advances in technology, changing market demands, and the prevailing economic climate are driving many to becoming entrepreneurs. She adds that the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme is moving to equip those individuals through its Entrepreneurship Development Training Program.
At the end of the process, we aim to develop well-rounded individuals who are knowledgeable, innovative, and productive, and can cope with the demands of a dynamic and challenging business environment. Training is but one of the key ingredients of your success. Yes, we'll provide you with guidance and tangible support, as well as affordable, specialized assistance that you can tap into.
We'll check in with our regional neighbors when the evening news continues.